Difendere il proprio interesse nazionale. Perché gli interessi delle nazioni non si sovrappongono sempre perfettamente. Questa è la politica estera, questa è la geopolitica. Tutto il resto è buono per il gossip.
If you look at the Western leaders or the G7 leaders right now, outside of Trump, the two most conservative leaders in the world are Italy and Japan.
Can you imagine a country like Canada? They seem to be acting like a spoiled brat right now. You have this juxtaposition. We've actually laid out the plan. I think it's a very good plan, by the way. I think it would very quickly yield results. I also want to add a couple of things to that. I think a charm offensive for the people of Canada, like Alberta, basically saying like, hey, we'd love to make a new friend, somebody who's actually our friend, somebody who's actually willing to trade with us, would also help really drive a wedge. Because I've already seen Doug Ford come out and say, hey, you're going to destroy the auto industry in Canada if you do this. Would you stop this, please? And a number of other people, Kevin O'Leary, one of them, aka Mr. Wonderful, he said, I think he said something that made a lot of sense. He's like, hey, I understand. Like, good. Go ahead and buddy up to these guys. Here's the problem. They're locusts. He didn't use that word, but he said they come in and basically just take everything from you. They don't need you. They don't like you. They don't want to be your friend. They see you as a useful idiot. And that's exactly how they view Canada right now. And Canada's playing right into their hands, right? So one of the things that I think a lot of people forget with some of the security that we have experienced over the last several decades, right? We've been in some wars in the Middle East, but we haven't had anything come to our shores as much, right? Not as much. I mean, we've had some issues of terrorism and things like that, but we really haven't had to deal with a lot of stuff in our own hemisphere. Well, there's a reason for that, but we got away from it. We understood what it took to get that kind of security, and we kind of took it for granted after a while. So I want everybody to remember that the U.S. 2026 National Security Strategy stated, and it's kind of reiterating some stuff that we've known to be true for a very long time, but it needed to be restated. After years of neglect, the United States will reassert and enforce the Monroe Doctrine to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere and to protect our homeland and our access to key geographies throughout the region. We will deny non-hemispheric competitors the ability to position forces or other threatening capabilities or to own or control strategically vital assets in our hemisphere. That's pretty cut and dry. Very straightforward. China cannot be allowed to have influence in North America. We got all up in arms when Russia was in Cuba and there was water separating. Like, this is worse, in my opinion. And we are in a much stronger position here when it comes to Canada. I don't know if this stat's in here, Lane, at all, but 75% roughly. I've heard numbers as low as 70, as high as 80, but somewhere in the middle probably is accurate. 75% of what Canada produces comes to the United States. We're the biggest customer. 75%. Oops.
Do they expect to be exporting to China? Because China's not much of a consumer
They're
state,
not
is it?
As much of a consumer state. They'll consume some energy, and that's fine. Maybe some lumber.
Oh, the crude? They do process some.
They process crude, but we're the largest
yeah.
refiner of heavy crude, which is what they have in the world. So I think that's going to be a really difficult spot for them to be in. I don't think you go to your best customer and do this, especially when all we're trying to do is make a good deal. China's just going to come in and fleece you for everything that you have and not care about the dead carcass that they leave behind.
And then are we expected to help them?
Of course. All the time. That's
the
only reason they exist.
I think Monroe Doctrine would insist on it.
I think it insists on us doing something with them. But Canada and the United States are both moving in opposite directions. And it doesn't have to be that way, but unfortunately it is, because elbows up, Canada, right? That was a real fantastic program that you started. With immigration, Canada, they have the highest percentage of foreign-born people in 150 years, as opposed to the United States in 2025. The first time there was negative net migration in 50 years. I mean, we sent more people home than we allowed in. Some would say that that's a good start. Lane, you also brought up another stat, too, like the negative. They were 1 point better on China than the United States. What was another country they were really favorable towards?
Yes, I am also here in the show right now. So I want to...
Hi, Lane.
No, sorry, I just haven't been on, so I didn't want to shock people.
Shock Lane.
India, they had a negative 34% view of India, which is interesting because the two largest migrant groups are the Indians and the Chinese. So it's essentially a bunch of Indians and Chinese people saying, yeah, we like India and China. It's a major shock.
Yeah, who knew?
So, but before we move on, I do want to address two things that I think were overlooked that are actually very important.
Do it.
The narrative here is that Trump is the one driving this new relationship between Canada and China. right?
That he's been too hard on them.
Yes, that he's with all the tariffs and with all the talks about, taking Alberta and blah, blah, blah. Well, that would make any sense, except if you look at Mark Carney's past, he was deeply involved with China over the last 12 to 15 years. When he worked for the Bank of England, he was the one that helped expand the renminbi to an international currency. Working with Brookfield, he oversaw about $3 billion worth of strategic investments into PLA-aligned organs in China. So it's not like Donald Trump is the one that created this relationship.
Right.
That's been a relationship. The second thing is we look at Trump talks about Greenland and its importance to the U.S. strategy concerning the Arctic as the Arctic thaws and things like the Northwest Passage and Northern Sea Route become places that ships can transverse.
Right.
I don't think transverse
Traverse.
is the word. Trans is on the mind for some reason in today's show.
Well, it's in your browser history. So.
Well,
it is true. Yeah.
You sent me the link, so.
What, did you like it?
Just take some responsibility, guys. Okay. Yeah. You're both wrong.
Now take Greenland and make it Canada because they control a lot of those Arctic sea routes already.
Yeah.
So if you think Greenland's strategically important, now imagine letting China take a foothold into Canada. You just cannot have it.
No, there's no way that this makes sense. And I appreciate that you brought that point up because you and I discussed President Trump's actions earlier on, and I think he did make some missteps in how he handled it. I don't mean in like necessarily the policy. I mean in how he basically pushed Poilievre out. Essentially, like he's not the guy.
They made mutual mistakes.
Exactly, right. So he made some mistakes that I think allowed this. But then again, maybe Trump, he's an accelerationist in some sense. Maybe he's basically saying, you know what, if this is going to happen, I'm going to make it happen real fast, make it real clear to everybody, and then we can do exactly what we want to do. Or Carney kind of buttered up Trump a little bit. Sometimes he's susceptible to people telling him what he wants to hear.
That's true.
So maybe he made a mistake in one of those two areas. Maybe a lot of things are going on. But all I know for sure is that we don't care. You can't look at the news saying, oh, this is Donald Trump's fault and that's the only reason this is happening. You go, well, man, I agree with that. And if Trump just would change his tune, that's not what's happening. Right now, China is not going to let go of Canada. It doesn't matter how much ball we play with Canada. They're going to have a relationship with China unless we step in and say, no, you're not. So this is a problem we're going to have to deal with one way or the other.
Well, to your point about the charm offensive, I think it's interesting, and you were talking about Alberta specifically.
Mostly, it's like with Alberta specifically, we can go.
It's a good idea. Yeah. I have a countervailing opinion to that our charm offensive should be focused on Mexico, actually.
Well, no, I think that at the same time.
I've been saying it for years.
Just drive wedges everywhere you can.
Agree. I mean, we're in a trade battle with both Mexico and China right now, but Canada made their bed. They picked.
Yeah.
I say you go to Mexico, you give them favorable deals. Now, Sheinbaum's going to have to relent on some stuff too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the strategic, both sides can gain strategically from kind of shutting Canada out of this and cooperating more closely with each other, because the best thing for the United States is a prosperous Mexico. The best way for Mexico to be prosperous is to do more of what the United States wants. It's a win-win situation that could really just kind of, kick Canada to the curb while they're going to behave like this.
Yep, I think that's true. By the way, on the economy, household disposable income in 2010, it was about even in the United States and Canada. Now the U.S. has a 10% higher household disposable income, and the gap is widening. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's go to Italy really quickly. And listen, I am a fan of strong leaders in both Italy and Germany, but I'm a little wary, okay? I'm just saying, this is a strong leader. I like that. She does a fantastic job, but I'm like, just be careful. We've got a bit of a history here. So Giorgia Meloni showed the West still has some sensible people in leadership, and she did it while speaking very, very quickly at a conference in Rome.
Mi si deve dire quindi che cosa si intende fare, cioè dobbiamo prendere distanze nel senso che dobbiamo uscire dalla NATO? Dobbiamo chiudere le basi americane? Dobbiamo rompere i rapporti commerciali? Dobbiamo assaltare i McDonald's? Non lo so. Che dobbiamo fare? Che dobbiamo fare? Altrimenti, chiaramente, io certo che non sono d'accordo con tutto quello che dicono i miei partner. Con Trump sono stata d'accordo sul Venezuela, non sono stata d'accordo sulla Groenlandia. Qualsiasi altro nome voi doveste farmi qui, vi dirò una cosa sulla quale sono d'accordo e una cosa sulla quale non sono d'accordo. Se voi chiedeste a tutti i miei partner cosa pensano di quello che dico io, vi diranno che su alcune cose sono d'accordo, su alcune cose non sono d'accordo. Si chiama difendere il proprio interesse nazionale, perché gli interessi delle nazioni non si sovrappongono sempre perfettamente. Questa è la politica estera, questa è la geopolitica, tutto il resto è buono per il gossip, Ma la geopolitica, secondo me, non è gossip.
No le gossip.
I can't stand up right now.
Elaine's feeling a little Maloney baloney.
Well, it's not just because she's a fairly attractive world leader. It's because of what she says. That's what does it for
It's
Lane.
how she says it.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, hey guys, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, if Italy does decide to go to war with McDonald's, as she said in Italian really quickly, don't worry, they're prepared and ready.
Cool looking tank.
It was a cool looking tank. It's not going to hide very well in any foliage or countryside or any place on the planet. It's going to stick out pretty easily.
Maybe Saudi Arabia.
Not really.
Yellow.
It's just it's too, even for colorblind me, I'm picking that thing out from a long way away.
Yeah, probably.
And look, while Carney is over there groveling in China, Maloney was meeting with Prime Minister, say it, Lane.
Takaichi Senai
in Japan. I never know if I'm going to say that right. I know Shohei Ohtani, but that's about it because of other reasons. And just want you to remember that Maloney withdrew Italy from China's BRI in 2023. I didn't even know that they were formally a part of it.
They were the first European country to
really
officially sign them, or Hungary, I believe it was Italy. But the interesting thing, and this is a wider discussion that can be had later, but I know there's a lot of talk among the right wing about not letting women vote or not letting women in positions of power. It's fringe, but it exists. The two, let's not pretend it doesn't exist. And
I was kidding.
You can understand some arguments for that, but I think the reason that's a fool's errand is because there are outliers. Because if you look at the Western leaders or the G7 leaders right now, outside of Trump, the two most conservative leaders in the world are Italy and Japan.
Yeah.
And there's all these cuck men in Western Europe that are bending over backwards for Xi Jinping. So, I mean, it's not as simple as...
It's not as simple. Men, and there's a lot of men and a lot of women that should not be able to vote. There should be other criteria that determine it, so that you don't end up losing good candidates like this, strong leaders. I think something that we have to get comfortable with is just like the ICE deportations. And we'll go to chat here in just a second. But it's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not going to be something that is always going to be wildly popular. And oftentimes doing the right thing is hard. We've gotten really bad at taking that and understanding it and saying, you know what? I'm going to do the hard thing because I know it's right. I'm going to do the thing that is right, even though it's going to be uncomfortable and people may not like it. But we know that it's right. Not like, a handful of guys got together and we control this thing in a dictatorial fashion, but the country got together and said, hey, this is the right thing to do. And resetting our foreign policy and resetting where the United States is on the global stage is something that needed to happen a long time ago. But unfortunately, too many presidents just didn't care. The Obama administration tried to be nice to everybody. We tried to be the cool kids at the table again. We tried to do everything that everybody wanted us to do. Where did that get us? Did that help the United States at all? No, they were still calling us the same names. They were still getting pissed off at us for the same reasons. They were still trying to do everything they could to subvert the United States when it comes to China and other countries that they had always done. It didn't matter what we did. So if that's going to be the case, shouldn't we look at that and go, okay, now we have to reset things. And when you reset things, it's going to be a little difficult. There's going to be a few hiccups here and there. We should just be comfortable with the idea that it's going to be hard and do the right thing and see this through, which is why I like things like this. The CIA dropping a new video that encourages Chinese dissidents to provide some information in a step-by-step, very detailed fashion to the United States. Sorry, audio listeners, you just have to watch the video.
They're showing them how to use burner phones to contact Americans.
Go buy it. Send us some information. And do everything like you normally do after that.
7 steps.
I know. I love it, by the way. What did you say about the Chinese internet on this?
Oh, they were pissed off. They're like,
why?
Because why would we encourage something like that? They would never do anything like that, right, Matt? Except this dude that just got nabbed for
I saw that.
12 years. But I don't know if you know who Palmer Luckey,
I do
right?
know, yeah.
He tweeted, this man should not be in prison.
You know why?
But if you scroll down.
He wants him dead.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you can see the meme, the Anakin meme.
Listen, I haven't scrolled down. I know Palmer Luckey well enough to know. He wants him
Someone's
dead.
like, you mean to be released, right? And so he put that.
No. He's like, look, Andrew will need some field testing done. We can put him on a range somewhere and see how good the product is. All
I
right.
want that dude on the show so much.
I do too. Yeah. His story is pretty phenomenal. If you guys aren't familiar, he's the guy who developed Oculus that was sold to Meta, well, I guess Facebook, for a couple of $1 billion, got forced out of his company. It was like, well, I guess I'm going to go into defense. I guess I'm going to make really awesome weapons of war so that we don't have to fight as many wars, because you don't want to screw around with this. Now, I will say this. He looks like the guy who is responsible for Skynet. So I'm also a little worried because like all those autonomous drones that were in Terminator. Well, I can't remember which one showed most of them, but in all of the Terminators.
He's one of the few American billionaires that I actually think likes America.
He loves America.
Yes.
Like loves America.
Not just as a means to his ends of becoming a rich guy. I think he really likes the country.
No, not at all. Very interesting guy. But look, the New World Order thing, and I take a different tack from Josh. You said that he almost looks like he doesn't want to say it. I'm kind of thinking he's sticking the landing there, in my view. The New World Order. Like, he's saying it so that you don't think it's a throwaway line, in my opinion. That's just kind of how I took it. But what is the New World Order? I mean, it's this national sovereignty kind of versus globalism, right? And really, that's what they want. They want globalism to be the New World Order.
Right. Which is why it's not, I mean, the Cold War is the West versus the rest, right?
Yeah.
Well, is it the West, or is it the Polish and the Hungarians versus the rest of the Europeans? Is it the Japanese? Right. And then, it's not nearly as bifurcated as it has been in the past.
No. And I think for the United States, we need to make sure that we take care of our own backyard that we've neglected for far too long. And we need to reset relationships with everybody else and make sure that they understand that we're not just going to keep footing the bill. But this is so... I guess you're saying that the Western globalists here are kind of...
Well, they think the Chinese are on board with this.
No.
The New World Order. Their New World Order that they're incorporating...
is China.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, everybody's welcome to play in this world as long as they do it in Chinese.
Yes.
kind of cultural norms. So here's the thing. So this is from the Chinese text for strategic support for achieving the Great Chinese Rejuvenation. The Westphalian system was founded on the notion of a balance of power. That's from like the 1500s, right? 16s. But it has proven unable to achieve a stable world order. All mankind needs a new order that surpasses and supplants the balance of power. Today, the age in which a few strong Western powers could work together to decide world affairs is already gone and will not come back. A new world order is now under construction that will surpass and supplant the Westphalian system. We must insist on taking the road of development with Chinese cultural characteristics. And we must insist on our own principles and our bottom line as we actively engage with others.
Seems clear.
Seems like they want what they want, and other countries want what they want. It seems like it's better when you have a balance of power.
No. You China.
Of sovereign nations, yes.
China.
You China. No, Canada. China.
No, you China.
You called China.
You eat more noodle. You China.
It just, like, guys, what world are we living in? I mean, for the Dave Smiths of the world and for all the people that are going to, say, well, hey, the United States should just focus on it. Yeah, you know what happens when you just focus on your own people and you don't focus at all on what's going on in the rest of the world? Stuff happens that affects your own people. I agree that we should focus more on our own people, 100%. But to think that we can just kind of jump off the stage and everything's going to be okay and China's just going to do what's in their best interest, which should just be fine. We can be trading partners with these people. It's okay. You really think that's going to happen? What kind of utopian future do you see with China?
Trade with the country that calls itself the Middle Kingdom, which means everything is on our periphery.
Yes.
It's in the name of the country.
I know. They just don't know. He doesn't know that. I guarantee you Dave Smith doesn't know that. And he doesn't talk a whole lot about China, I don't think. He talks more about the Middle East and
because you
Israel
can't hate
and all
Jews
that stuff.
as easily when you talk about
I don't know that he hates Jews, but at the same time, I understand. He gets very frustrated with the nation state of Israel. He probably hates that.
Well, those Chinese Jews are a real problem.
That's true.
No one's talking about it.
You know what's funny, though? The Mexican Jews, I'm starting to believe this with Scheinbaum down there. I mean, come on, guys.
It's a good point.
That's a hard one to hide. Okay. Gonzalez, Garcia, Scheinbaum. Wait, what? Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, you're still here watching this on YouTube? There's no more. It's over. Just like YouTube. YouTube is over. It's not a thing anymore. How many Seth Meyers clips do you need? Head on over to Rumble. Follow me there, live on weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we can actually speak freely and don't have to self-censor. YouTube it's really not a thing. Like, you ever seen one of those towns that maybe was like a mining town, or maybe they made some kind of alloy? You say, hey, I wonder what they did in this town. It takes a while to find a person who can tell you what they did in that town, and even then you don't fully understand it. That's YouTube. YouTube is that town. So go to Rumble.